From the Newsroom at news.com.au.
G'day, I'm Andrew Bucklow, and this is the latest from the Newsroom. It's Wednesday, the 12th of May. Well, the federal budget was handed down last night. To break it down for us, here's news.com.au's national political editor, Samantha Maiden.
Well, this was a budget with not a lot of surprises, but there was one big one, and that related to borders. There was always an expectation that the Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg, would put some forecasts in the budget about when we can go travelling overseas again. And you'd have to say, while it's not ironclad, it's just a prediction that the news is not great. The budget forecasts that international travel will pretty much remain grounded until mid-July 2022. And the really interesting thing about that is there's some optimistic forecasts in the budget that the whole of the Australian population, or pretty much everyone who wants to be vaccinated, will be by the end of the year. So why the delay? Well, the Treasurer didn't fully explain this, but one of the reasons is that COVID-19 has a habit of throwing curveballs. So they're concerned about new variants, and they also want to see a bit more about how the vaccinated community works in the wild, if you like. There have been these concerns that while vaccination will stop you from getting sick and dying, that you may still be able to contract COVID and even spread it. And we've seen some examples of that recently with recently vaccinated quarantine workers. In terms of what was expected in the budget, that we got a tick on, the first item off the rank was probably those tax cuts. So the extension of tax cuts for low and middle income earners for another year that were never permanent or baked in. They're worth $1,080 for singles a year if you're earning under $90,000 a year, and $2,160 for couples. There's also a huge tax break for business to buy utes and machinery and other things and write that off in your tax. That will mean that there is about $18 billion in tax that the government might otherwise have expected to collect that they won't. Why are they doing it? Because it's really successful in stimulating the economy. If people go out and make those investments as business, buy those utes, buy that machinery, it's helping the economy continue to tick over. There's also more money in there for childcare, but, if you think about the $17 billion I just mentioned in relation to that instant asset tax write-off and compared it to the $1.7 billion for new childcare measures, it's a much more modest investment. There's been criticism of the childcare changes because they only help larger families with more than one child in daycare at the same time, and they also don't come into effect until July 2022. Labor's got a bit of an excuse on that front because they have to win an election. The Liberal Party has less of an excuse of why they wouldn't provide relief right away. And certainly in the budget press conference today, Mr. Frydenberg made clear that if they can fast track it, they will. They're having some IT issues apparently, new computer systems are required, but if they can speed that up, they will. So overall, this is not a budget about cuts. The Treasurer made clear that they were not going to flick to austerity, certainly not before an election year. And so there's just a lot of tax cuts, a lot of sweeteners, and not much information on what will be the hard times ahead as the nation has to sit down at some point over coming decades and work out how we pay for it.
To showbiz now, and Seth Rogen has opened up about a bizarre encounter with Tom Cruise. In his new book, Rogen revealed that he and Judd Apatow were invited to Cruise's mansion in 2006 for a meeting about comedy. But when they got there, Cruise actually went on a rant about how the pharmaceutical industry was trying to destroy his public image. Cruise even claimed big pharma companies edited the footage of him jumping on Oprah's couch to make it look worse than it was. Interesting. And finally, Matt Damon has responded to rumours that Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez are back together. Here's what the actor had to say on the US Today show.
It's a fascinating story.
All right, should we let him off the hook?
I hope it's true. I love them both. I hope it's true. That would be awesome.
Oh, okay, good.
Well, it wasn't a denial, was it? Maybe there's some truth there. That is it from the Newsroom. We'll be back in the afternoon with another update.
Your update from news.com.au.